So, hello and welcome to the New Gig podcast. I'm your host, Glenn Hodgson, and today I'm delighted to be joined by lawyer and EU legal expert, Pernilla Norman. How are you doing, Pernilla?
I'm very well. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Now, Pernilla, give us a little bit of a background on yourself, the areas that you've been working on, and also your current areas of focus.
Yes, and first of all, thank you very much for inviting me. I'm very excited to be here today. As you said, I'm an EU lawyer. So I have studied and worked with EU law for my entire career, and I have a master's from the College of Europe, as I know you know. You know about the institution.
A little bit, yes.
Some good people have come out from there.
Modesty forbids, yes.
Yeah. And so I started off, I think, in a very traditional EU legal practice, working mostly with competition law in one of the major Swedish law firms, where I was placed in Brussels and in Stockholm. So, and then I just continued from there. So I worked a lot in the area of public procurement. And within that field, I sort of specialized quite early on what was then telecom, then IT, and now tech,
Yeah.
um, and especially to the healthcare sector. So I've done most of the public procurements for all our national healthcare IT infrastructure.
Yeah.
So yeah, and well, doing that, you tend to work a lot with data protection, and then right now it's a I don't know, avalanche of legislation in the tech
Mm.
area. It's almost to the month. So yeah, so a lot on data protection and a lot on security issues
Yeah.
like
Excellent.
IT security, cyber security, information security. Yeah.
Yeah. And
And also I also besides working as a private practitioner, I have a little leg here at the Stockholm University where I am at the moment,
yep.
where I'm doing a PhD in exactly these areas.
So you're an expert on all these topics. So fantastic to have you on to look at these things. And on the new gig, we look specifically at sort of labor market issues. So it'd be great to have a little bit of your take on how the EU data protection, but also the new AI Act, the AI obligations, how they're affecting the labor market sort of now, but also potentially into the future as well, Pernilla.
Yes, thank you. It's a very broad question, and it's a little bit of the million-dollar question. As what you hear now is a lot about AI taking our jobs and what can we do? What will the jobs be in the future?
Yes.
And so on. I tend to see it from a little bit of a different angle. I find we are living in extremely exciting times, very much a time of a shift. Um, and as far as we can see right now, AI is not exactly taking our jobs, but helping us and maybe focus. And in the legal field, we can see that we can use AI to quite automate work, and we can do more of the intellectual work, maybe.
Mm.
Um, and but definitely the AI will take jobs, or the jobs will disappear. But that has been like that for in every shift, with
Yeah.
electricity, with cars, you name it. It's always been a shift. Of course, jobs will disappear. Jobs disappear all the time,
Mm.
but new jobs will be created.
Yes.
Uh, so I think it's more a matter of going with the flow and not be too afraid of this shift. And for I mean, if you see from your perspective with gig workers, they are quite dynamic, often maybe a little bit younger. And so I think it's important to send a message to the gig workers to be curious and try to learn and use AI
Mm. And
to stay in the forefront.
that's great advice because you're right. We see headlines daily about the fact that sort of jobs will be replaced, humans will be replaced in the labor market, and in the the legal profession. What are you seeing? Because there's been a lot of talk about entry level jobs and associates in law firms or in the legal practices. These jobs are being replaced by machines, and the sort of traditional work that associates would be doing in law firms is now being replaced by machines almost completely. Is this a shift you're seeing, or how is it in reality?
Well, that is definitely a worry. And that's something that we discuss a lot within the legal field. Um, Somehow, I think it's a little bit the same as with everything else that you probably will need fewer younger lawyers.
Right.
And there will be because law is very much a vocation. You need to train to become,
Mm.
you work with more senior lawyers and you learn the trade.
Yeah.
And so that is definitely a worry. But
Mm.
then again, if we try to see it more like tools, we can get more done, and especially we can concentrate on the quality. We can get higher quality in our work, but definitely a lot of sort of basic legal work is already and will be even more so automized.
Mm. Yeah.
Um, so, but we need to try to find some other ways for the young professionals because we need to take into consideration that they will grow into their professional life with these tools.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
maybe the way they can master them will be so much better than the way we master them today when we're just
Mm.
trying to learn them.
Yeah, and I think this is an element and sort of advice as well for individuals to not neglect the technology and the machines and the solutions that are out there, but actually learn to understand them, how they can make you better. And I think through this knowledge, skills, and expertise, it becomes a case of you control the machine as opposed to the machine controls you, and that's probably the ideal place to be in this situation, Pernilla.
Yes, definitely. But then there is always this, you need to be cautious with the using of legal, if we stay within the legal field, with legal AI. We have all these examples where AI has made court cases up and made references up in court submissions. And we
Yeah.
actually had our first examples also in Sweden of that. But
Mm.
that only goes back to the general obligation as a lawyer. We can't sort of just put our hands in the air and trust everything we get wherever we get it. If we have a young associate
Yes.
who has prepared it or an AI, we still need to look at the cases, check the references, and we're responsible
Yeah.
ourselves.
Yeah. So we know that the product that is produced is actual sort of there's someone with the knowledge and expertise has actually been through it to make sure
Absolutely.
that this is something that is real, it makes sense, and whether it's created by a machine or an associate or a middle ranking lawyer, that there's someone sees the mistakes or has the knowledge to see the mistakes before something happens.
Absolutely. And in using and practicing AI on AI tools, and this is not true only for the legal field. We always talk about human in the loop.
Yes. Yeah.
It's exactly what you're bringing up here. The
Mm.
importance of it's always human in the loop.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're in a situation whereby, it sounds to me that in the legal profession, this is not something new. It's the same process, but we're adding machines, adding efficiency, adding technology, but the same checks and balances are the same as they've always been.
Absolutely. And I mean, it has been a development also in the legal fields. We've had sort of digital databases that we've used
Yeah.
for as long as I have worked at least, and that's quite a long time. Uh, and we have seen the development. So it's not something that comes out of the blue.
Yeah. Yeah. And when we sort of look at the sort of the legislation side of things as well, because the EU is always at the forefront of regulation and legislating sectors. And when we look at sort of first with a sort of the data protection perspective, the GDPR, and further from that, how has this impacted workers and the workforce as well in terms of the protections, but maybe some of the limitations that are already been brought in place?
Yes, it's a very good question. And if we start with, as I said, there coming new legislation all the time. It's
Mm,
difficult to keep up with everything that comes. But if we start with GDPR, or it's possible to go even further, but it's a good starting point. So that was actually decided already, entered into force already 2016 and started to be applicable from this time of the year, May 2018.
mm,
And in the aspect of tech legislation, that is now old legislation.
yes.
So that's also a perspective. But it's important to think back to why did this legislation come and why do we have the GDPR?
Yep.
And it is very much a question of Europe's competitiveness and Europe's competitiveness towards the rest of the world. So we have the sort of the basis of EU is, of course, the free movement.
Yeah.
And when the legislators were thinking about this, they, in their way of thinking, they consider that in order for Europe to be competitive and to stay competitive, to be as a ground for innovation and so on, we need to have free movement of data and of personal data.
Yeah.
So this is the fundamental starting point of the GDPR, that data or personal data can move freely within the European Union. So you can innovate and develop tools and whatever. But then we have the fundamental human rights and the EU Charter,
Yeah.
where integrity is mentioned as one of the fundamental human rights. So this became the weighing of free movement of data and the integrity as a human right. And the balance was struck where they agreed on the GDPR. And then, as we always said, when it comes to EU legislation, it's a union compromise. It's a lot of countries, and the situation on data protection is extremely different between the countries, the member states. So
Yeah.
yeah, and in that respect, it might be interesting that Sweden actually had the world's very first data protection legislation and surveillance authority back in
Excellent.
73.
Leading the world. And now,
Uh,
of course, we've got the AI Act and sort of the classification of what's high risk and these kind of elements as well. And I'd be
yeah.
interested to hear your take on everything that is AI, what it's actually sort of allowing us to do, but also what it's limiting, and where the sort of limitations due to maybe sort of preventing companies and organizations from perhaps going too far, how that's actually sort of playing out, and what are some of the concerns that we have today.
Well, the AI Act is it's as the GDPR, as most of these new legislation, it's what they call a risk-based approach. So everything is weighed risk towards gain.
Yeah,
So there are very few clear-cut lines on what is permitted, what is prohibited, what can you do, what can't you do, because it's a weighing of risks in the individual cases.
yeah,
But obviously, there are some AI applications that are prohibited and that can't be used. For instance, and those are goes into the very sort of core of the human integrity, like social scoring and things like that.
yes, okay,
Um, and then we have high risk, and those are not prohibited, but a high level of safeguards need to be in place in order to use them.
yeah,
And then it's sort of falling scale from there. So
mm,
and also, there are rules about marking. You have to mark whether you use AI for certain things.
okay,
So creating a picture, for instance, it should be marked that this is AI created,
yes,
and that is
yeah.
also a form of protection. Uh, yeah.
No, I was just going to say that sort of this marking element, is that for sort of the individuals or for companies that need to be at the heart of understanding and utilizing this, Pernilla?
Well, it's for companies. It's for the professional use,
Okay.
and of course, when you comes into sort of a criminal offenses, then it's a little bit of a different matter. But
Yeah.
it's issuing from the undertaking's perspective when you use it in a professional manner.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So yeah. But
And
there is also a different aspect, and that is already in the GDPR, which is quite can affect gig workers, but mostly sort of the companies, and that is this issue of transfer of personal data towards third countries, and that means countries outside of the EU and EEA.
yeah.
There's there's actually need for special caution when it comes to the use of, for instance, platforms that are not European based,
Yeah.
for
Mm,
instance, the big tech and so on. So, yeah. And everything, a small company or a small gig worker can be considered an undertaking or a professional in the terms of these legal regulations. So that is something to bear in mind as well when
mm,
it comes to EU law, that the threshold for being a professional or an undertaking is quite low.
mm. So is it the risk that sort of entrepreneurs could be saddled with this whole raft of obligations that they don't have time or can't be bothered to look into, but they'll still have to be aware of? Could this limit innovation? Could this limit entrepreneurs from maybe sort of trying things going forward?
Well, hopefully not, but you know what they say that what is it? US innovate, China replicate, duplicate, and EU regulate. So isn't that a general saying in this area?
It
But
seems to be sadly, yes. Mm,
yeah, it is a bit of a difficulty because it is important to know the rules in these areas when you innovate. So
mm,
definitely. But hopefully that is, but these legislations as well, they build on something called, especially GDPR, privacy by design.
Okay.
So when you innovate, it's really important that you have the privacy aspects already in the technical design of the innovation.
Yeah.
So that is room to bring in the lawyers early in the process.
Well, yeah, I mean, a lot of the discussion with sort of freelancers and founders that I have, that these things are obviously written by lawyers or people who've never had a job in their lives, and therefore there's so little connect with the sort of the startup entrepreneurial world. It's really very much a focus on bureaucrats making things complicated as opposed to actually facilitating ideas, competitiveness and growth, all the things that Europe likes to talk about, but the reality and the results actually show something very, very different.
Yes, well, you know all about that in your role. That is the EU. It's not easy to agree between 27 member states.
Yes, and increasingly so. And yeah, what you get is bad legislation at the end of it, sadly. And but work for lawyers to unpick it and find out how we can actually sort of utilize it in practice. So it's not all bad. It's not all bad for this kind of thing. And you know, I'm also interested in sort of your thinking because you know you yourself and you work in a you know in the legal field, but also are very much in sort of creating companies, you know, individuals who can actually sort of work and sort of create business, create companies by themselves. I'm just almost interested as well in the fact of your thoughts and ideas about how you actually sort of create a company for yourself. What are the kind of skills you need to have, and what are the things you need to think about in terms of developing business and developing the organization?
Uh, well, I suppose curiosity is a very good starting point.
Yep.
And I don't know, but if you've seen this think tank or whatever they call, no, they call it something else, Shark Tank, and
Yes.
all these financing TV programs, they always say it's not the idea, it's the team behind that they put their money into. And I think
Yes.
that is probably very, very true.
Mm.
So it is I think you have to be um, not sort of not see the hinders. You have
Yep.
to be sort of just curious and sort of goal focused and yeah, there will be bumps in the road, and it might not be whatever we thought from the start, but it will be something else and probably something a lot better because
Yeah.
we didn't have all the answers from the start. And
Mm.
also now the development of technology is so fast. So while you're in the process of starting your company or realizing your idea, technology will develop at the same time. So you will
Yeah.
be able to do something else along the way. But I also think you need to have on the teams some sort of business-oriented minds. So not only the technology and the development, but also the business side,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that in from the start. It's otherwise you will have a lovely little device that won't make it to the market.
Yeah, I agree that there's the focusing on, dare I call it the boring stuff or the compliance stuff is more and more important. So the business of the business, and you can
Yes.
have all the great ideas and innovations that you want and all the great marketing. But if you can't sort of run the business and do the sort of dull things well, then you're always going to struggle. And I think this is important. I think that, you know, doing well what other people don't, whether this is using individuals, whether it's using technology and machines to do that, but having the oversight of these kind of things, I think is absolutely crucial. So I think it's really important, but also very timely that you raise these things actually, Pernilla, as well.
Yes, I agree 100% with what you're saying. And compliance it becomes sort of the core, actually,
Mm,
uh,
yeah,
because it's also now so many legislations to consider in compliance work.
yeah,
Um, And also, if you look at the effects of non-compliance, it's very severe,
Very.
and
Yeah.
a lack of knowledge is never an argument.
Yes, it's never an argument, it's never a sort of an excuse. It's basically it is what it is. And either
It
you
is.
educate yourself or that's it, or suffer the consequences.
Yes, and also I usually compare it a little bit when it comes to um, GDPR breaches and things like that. That from the surveillance authorities' point of view, it's like you have your house and you have the best locks. You buy really good locks, and you have an alarm system. And also, you actually have security guards that comes with a dog every now and then and go
Yes.
checks your house.
Mm,
But eventually, you have a break-in anyway. And from your point of view, you've done everything you can, but these things happen.
right.
But from the surveillance authorities' point of view, you could have done more because obviously you had a break-in.
Mm, mm,
So it's difficult to do things right in the end when it comes to compliance. But a
right.
good starting point is to have all your documents in order and to have taken all the steps and to to sort of have documented why you have taken the decisions you have taken, because then you
Mm,
can come afterwards in the reverse mirror and say, okay, it was the wrong decision. Yes, but here are the arguments why we thought they were right at the time we took them.
yes. Yeah. Understand from that perspective how
And this
these
is
things
sort of
work.
the core of compliance work.
Yeah, no, completely, completely. And I think it's something that sort of is increasing over time to be aware of these kind of things and to be able to push them. I think is absolutely crucial. So I really appreciate you coming on to give the viewers and listeners a few insights and also a port of call for anyone who has any issues and wants to check where they are and what they should be doing. So really appreciate that, Pernilla.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.